Second theorem, a non-empty subset H of a group G is a subgroup of G if and only if for every a comma b belongs to H. That implies a star b inverse belongs to H. So what they're asking to prove is one, if H is if H is a subgroup, then this is true. That is, for every a comma b belongs to H, a star b inverse belongs to H. And if a star b inverse belongs to H, then H is the subgroup of G. We have to prove both the sets. If you see last theorem, we prove these two things. A star b belongs to H and A inverse also belongs to H. That is, first one is closure law and second one is inverse exists in the subgroup. So we can use even that here to prove this. So we'll see how we are trying to prove. So first is necessary condition. So what is if necessary condition? What is the necessary condition? We'll have the data. The first thing, H is the subgroup of G. That is, we'll take this one and prove this. That is the first one, right? So necessary condition will be H is subgroup of G. Then what is proof? That is to prove that for all a comma b belongs to H, we are going to prove a star b inverse belongs to H itself. That is combining the last theorem. That is, one is closure and one more is inverse also exist. We are combining that two together. So proof, what is given first? H. The given is H is subgroup. The given is H is subgroup. Since H is subgroup of a G, H is itself a group. If H is a subgroup of G, H itself a group, that H itself obeys all the rules of group. So if H is group, then for every B belongs to H, that is some element belongs to H, there will be inverse also belongs to the same H. So B inverse also belongs to H. Because H is a subgroup, every element has its own inverse. So now, if you take one more element A belongs to H, and B inverse already belongs to H. So by closure law, if you have a binary operation with these two, that is A star B inverse A star B inverse, then even that belongs to H. That proves the theorem. This is by closure law, but that's what was needed for us to prove here. Next one is one more side, that is called sufficient condition. We'll take the given data is this. For every a comma b belongs to H, A star B inverse belongs to H. What we have to prove? To prove that for H is a subgroup, to prove that this H is subgroup of G. What is given? In the given condition, H is not a subgroup. Only given condition is this: for every a comma b belongs to H, A star B inverse also belongs to H. Then what we have to prove? H is a subgroup of G. Okay. So proof, in the given condition 1, replace A by B. So what is the condition 1? That is the wait, let's see what is the given condition. This one, A star B inverse belongs to H. That is data. So in given condition 1, replace A by B. So what you'll get? B star B inverse. That belongs to H. But what is B star B inverse? B star B inverse by inverse law, that is nothing but E. Right? So we will get E belongs to H. if E belongs to H, what is that E? E is nothing but identity, so identity axiom is proved. So in one, the next step in one, we have to show that it's a subgroup, we have to satisfy all the condition of a group, because H itself, we have to prove H itself is a group. So we have to show that all the condition of H are obeyed. So in one, in the equation 1, replace A by E now. So we are replacing A by E. Then what is E into B inverse? By identity axiom, E into B inverse is nothing but B inverse. B inverse also belongs to H. So inverse axiom is proved now, because for every element this is arbitrary, right? B inverse is arbitrary, so every element B, you have a B inverse belongs to H. Now next, replace B by B inverse. What was the equation 1? That is A star B inverse. Instead of B inverse, replace B itself by B inverse. The whole inverse will be there. So inverse of inverse is B itself. We proved there in properties of groups. So that will be A star B belongs to H. A star B belongs to H. It's nothing but closure law. So by closure law, closure axiom also proved here. So what is remaining? The remaining one is associativity. So also H being a subset of G, all the elements of H are therefore elements of G, because H is a smaller set of G, right? So the composition being associative in G, it is also associative in H. We know that already G itself is a group. We had to prove H is a group or not, subgroup or not. So since G itself is a group, all the elements in group G will satisfy associativity, and the elements of H are subsets of G. So even here also this associative law will be holds good. Therefore H comma star is a group, hence H comma star is a subgroup of G. Now we'll go to last theorem, that is show that the intersection of two subgroups of a group G is again a subgroup. So you have two subgroups. If you take intersection, what is intersection? We are finding common elements of two groups. Intersection is nothing but you are finding common elements. If you have one set and one more set, okay, two groups, these are two groups, then what are the common elements? These are the common elements. This is nothing but intersection of these two sets. So let H and K be two subgroups of group G. So if H and K are two subgroups, then identity must exist in this subgroup also. Therefore E belongs to H and E belongs to K. So if at least one element belongs to these two, that is which is common, okay, so E belongs to H and E belongs to K. So there is some elements belongs to H and some elements to belongs to K. So these two groups cannot be empty, because at least one element is there. H cannot be empty, K cannot be empty. 5 means empty. H is not equal to 5 means H is non empty. So if this E belongs to both the sets H and K, then that elements belongs to their intersection also, because it's common in these two sets. So E belongs to H intersection K. So by this, even H intersection K is not equal to 5. That is, H intersection K is not non-empty. Now that is to show H intersection K is non-empty. So now we are going to show the theorem. So let's some arbitrary element x1 and x2 belongs to this intersection H intersection K. So if two elements belongs to H intersection K, it should belongs to each element. So x1 x2 belongs to H and x1 x2 belongs to K also, right? And we already know H and K are two subgroups of group G. So by previous theorem, if you have two elements, then x1 binary operation with x2, that is multiply here, x2 inverse also belongs to H, and x1 x2 inverse, since H and K are subgroup of J. Here you have to write x1 and x2 inverse belongs to K also, it's missing there. Here you have to write x1 x2 inverse belongs to K, okay, since H and K are subgroup of G. That's what missing here. What is missing here? x1 x2 inverse belongs to K, okay, just write that, since H and K are subgroup of G. So x1 x2 inverse belongs to H and K both, then it should be belongs to H inverse K, H intersection K also. If x1 x2 inverse belongs to H intersection K, then H intersection K itself, see here it's already told x1 x2 both elements belongs to H intersection K, and here we are telling x1 into x2 inverse also belongs to H intersection K. That implies by previous theorem H intersection K is a subgroup of G. That's what we had to prove here. Then the next question will be, is union is a subgroup? If you have two subgroups H and K, is their union also subgroup of G? No, it's not true. Why? For example, you have a example here. Consider a additive group Z. So what is Z? Z, say, let's say a set of integers. Then what is 2Z? 2Z is set of integer which is multiplied by 2 only. You cannot have 1, 3 and all, only 2. 2, 4, 6, 8 and goes on. And 3Z. What is 3Z? In 3Z you can have 0, 3, 6, 9, minus 3, minus 6, minus 9, of that kind all. A subgroup of Z. But 2Z union 3Z is not a group. What is 2Z union 3Z? So 2Z 3Z union 3Z will be, you have the whole Z, I guess. No, not whole Z. You have 0, 2, 3, 4, 6, all the multiples of 2 and all the multiples of 3. But since 2 belongs to 2Z, we are just taking example, and 3 belongs to 3Z, because it is under addition, if you add these two, that is 2 plus 3, 5. 5 is not a multiple of 2 or multiple of 3, so it does not belongs to this set. So union 2Z belongs to 3Z is not a subgroup. See, 2 belongs to this set, 3 belongs to this set, but if you add these two, this 5 does not belong to this set. So this set is not closed under addition. That's why union is not always subgroup of G. Union of two subgroups is not always subgroup of a G. So we have an example, the last one. Let G be a subgroup of all non-singular real matrix of order 2 cross 2 under multiplication. What is non-singular? For a non-singular matrix, its determinant should be equal to, it should not be equal to 0. If it is singular, its determinant will be equal to 0. If it is non-singular, its determinant is not equal to 0. And 2 cross 2 matrix, that is of this kind, the matrix of this kind. So that described once again here. So let H is equal to, okay, they described H itself like this. So H should be of this kind, where 1 and 1 should be there, 1 should be there in diagonal, and 0 must be there here, and the here A, that is, you can change any value of A, but rest all should be in same pattern. H is a subset, H is a set where it's a subset of non-singular matrices, because non-singular matrices can be so many things, but you have a H where it is has only that is restricted, this should element should be 1, element should be 0, and this element should be 1, but you can change this value as value A, any R, that is any real number. And what is G? G is any non-singular matrices. We have to show this H is subgroup of G. Okay. What we have to show, what they are telling, G, the group of non-singular matrix is a group already, but what we have to show, its subset, this one also a group by itself, that is, it is subgroup. So given H, that is 1 A 0 1 A belongs to R, we are just checking is it a non-singular. That is true, we just took its determinant, that is 1 1, you have to multiply 1 into 1, that is 1, minus A into 0, that is 0, so 1 will be the determinant, which is not equal to 0. So H is, we can just say, because it is not 0, it is a non-singular, so H is subset of G, and H is non-empty. Why it is non-empty? At least if you give A is equal to 1, you will get identity matrix, that is non-singular. Okay. So we are considering two elements, where one x and y belongs to R. We are taking one element as A and one more element as B. Where both elements A and B belongs to H. So we will find what is B inverse. For 2 cross 2 matrix, we already have how to find inverse, that is 1 by its determinant into adjoint of that B. This is not only for this, its general formula, it's not for 2 cross 2 matrix. For generally, B inverse will be nothing but 1 by determinant of B into adjoint of B. But how to find adjoint of B? There is a easy way here. Adjoint of B will be easily find for 2 cross 2 matrix, that is, you have to reverse the diagonal elements, just you have to write 1, this one here, and negative sign for other elements. So because both the places you have 1 only here, so you don't find any difference, and for rest of the elements it was y here, but here they have written minus y, 0 and minus 0 will be same. Then what is 1 by determinant of B? Determinant of B is 1 here, so it does not matter in this equation. So what is B inverse? B inverse is this 1 minus y, 0 and 1. Now we have A also, we already have A, then we have B inverse, right? So we have to multiply this. What is A B inverse? That is 1 x 0 1 multiplied by 1 minus y 0 1. Now multiply, wait, 1 into x to 1 0, so x into 0 will be 0, 1 into 1 will be 1. Okay, that is. Now multiply 1 into x into minus y into 1. So what is 1 into minus x? Minus y, that is minus y, see, and x into 1 is x. Now multiply 0 into 1 into 1 into 0, so it will be 0, because 0 into 1 0, 1 into 0 0. Now multiply 0 into 1 into minus y into 1, so you will get 1 into 1 1. So is this in the general form? What is general form? 1a 0 and 1. So 1 is there, so 1 also there. These things should be same, right? So we are just checking that is that same here. Yeah, 1 0 1, and one other element is x minus y, that is also x minus y belongs to R, so it's all right, some element of R. So by looking at this is element of H only, this is also element of H only. So AB inverse belongs to H, that is A belongs to H and B belongs to H, implies AB inverse also belongs to H. Therefore H is a subgroup of G. So this finishes your syllabus or your portion of group theory.